lobby. Let's all go to the lobby, lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Hello, horror hounds, and welcome to Now Slain, an It Slays podcast production where we review the latest and greatest in the world of horror. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
Hey, it's Jill.
And we're here to talk about some clowns hanging out in cornfields. So, before we get into the episode, Jill, this is the part where we talk about were we looking forward to this? Are you familiar with, the novel or anything about what I kind of feel like maybe they're, trying to turn into the new teen sensation, which is Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesar, I think is his name. So did you know about this? Were you excited about this? Let the people know.
Yeah, well, I've seen some clowns in my lifetime, and I've also seen some cornfields. I'm just kidding. I've been looking forward to this one for a while. I was just telling Rowan that Anthony is a big fan of the books, and he let me borrow his signed copy literally years ago. I think he met Adam. I don't know how to say his name. Caesar? Caesar? I don't know.
White people, eh?
I apologize. Italian? I don't know. But yeah, that copy has been sitting on my nightstand for literal years. And I feel so bad because I haven't, brushed off the cobwebs and read it yet. But I also did a Clown in a Cornfield reaction video fairly recently over on YouTube for Straight Jacket Talk. And the trailer actually made me pretty excited to see the movie. Just the kind of camp that was going on. And Clown in a Cornfield has definitely been on my radar. Also, please forgive me if I accidentally call the movie Corn in a Clownfield, because I've been doing that all day and I cannot stop.
That's the sequel.
That is the sequel, apparently. What about you, Rowan? Have you been looking forward to this as well?
Not really, but there's no prejudice to that. It's kind of funny because I'm sitting here, I showed Jill the book. I have the book. You guys can't
read 20
see
pages.
It. Read 20 pages of it today.
More than me.
But I've literally, I bought this book at a thrift store, I feel a while ago, a year ago or so. And, it's a horror book, obviously. I've kind of talked about it on the main show every once in a while. Not often, but, I have a pretty big collection of, teen horror books. A lot of, who writes teen books? I don't know. R.L. Stein. A lot of R.L. Stein. Christopher Pike. I've got almost all his stuff. But yeah, anything like this that kind of comes out, I like to have a copy of it. And I'd actually heard some good things about the book when I looked it up. Some of the good read stuff from adults was that it's actually a pretty good read. So I was like, you know what? Someday I'll read that. And then when we were doing the what's coming in 2025, obviously they had announced a movie and optioned it, and it being I think Shudder has something to do with this, I believe. They're a producer on it. So that always, I'm always interested in Shudder universe movies that come to the theater, because this is a fairly new thing. So, of course, I kind of always want to try to support those when that does happen. So, yeah, I guess that's me saying I am kind of was looking forward to it, maybe. Not so much. I just talked myself out of how much I was looking forward to it.
You really did.
So, with that, why don't we find out how much corn is in these clown fields? But first, let's get into the trailer.
Hey, Ginger! You okay? They're the psychos dressed up like Brendo trying to kill us! Call 911! Where's the button, Jen? What kind of phone is it?
Rated Rated R. Now playing only in theaters.
Clown in a Cornfield was released in theaters May 9th, 2025, and it is directed by Eli Craig and written by Eli Craig, Carter Blanchard, and originally written by Adam Cesar. And the synopsis is as follows. Quinn and her father have just moved to the quiet town of Kettle Springs, hoping for a fresh start. Instead, she discovers a fractured community that has fallen on hard times after the treasured Bay Pen corn syrup factory burned down. As the locals bicker amongst themselves and tensions boil over, a sinister, grinning figure emerges from the cornfields to cleanse the town of its burdens, one bloody victim at a time. So, here on Now Slaying, we like to start with the spoiler-free discussion. Jill, what are your initial thoughts on Clown in a Cornfield? Spoiler-free, of course, which I know anytime Jill's on Now Slaying, she breaks within like 2 minutes.
I can't help it. I think we'll be okay this time because all of my notes are actually spoiler-free.
Oh, nice.
I don't have nary a note on, the actual spoilers. So I think we'll be okay. But, initial reaction, I had pretty high hopes going into this after seeing the trailer. And just like I kind of mentioned earlier, the level of camp in the trailer, that was evident. And also it just looked, kind of like a good slasher. And I feel like we're entering slasher season, like spring, coming on summer. So I was excited to go to the theater. I got some nachos. They were pretty ballin'.
Ooh, yeah, nice.
I went to a really small theater, actually. There was only like 3 people, including me and Anthony, who I went to go see it with. So yeah, it was nice. I really enjoyed it. I had a good time. I thought it was funny. I thought, like I said, it was a good slasher. There were lots of kills and blood. The music was okay. I really enjoyed the performance of, is it Katie Douglas?
Yes.
Who plays Quinn. I thought she was great. She kind of reminded me of Rachel Zegler in Y2K. And I know a lot of people don't like Rachel Zegler, but I really liked her in Y2K, and I felt like her mannerisms and personality were very similar to Quinn's character. And I liked Quinn's character a lot. I thought it was kind of refreshing and cool. I liked the relationship between her and her dad. I thought the dad character was pretty relatable as a millennial, and I'll probably talk about more of that later. But I'm just going to get on my soapbox for a little bit, if that's okay.
Listen, you go ahead.
All right. So I went on the old Google earlier. And first of all, I saw a plethora of negative and I feel like unnecessarily harsh reviews of Clown in a Cornfield online. And I was kind of flabbergasted by it. I don't know if you're going to agree or disagree with that, but I feel like we live in a time where elevated and art house kind of horror have peaked, and people more than ever can't sit down and enjoy like a simple horror movie or something like a slasher. And it's honestly kind of exhausting. I feel like any horror movie that isn't swimming in like deep metaphors or bleak themes, quite frankly, doesn't stand a chance. And I kind of wonder what happened to our love of a simple scare or like the slasher nostalgia. And secondly, Clown in a Cornfield is a novel for young adults. So I think people need to adjust their expectations kind of accordingly with that. And the book itself was only published in 2020, and the film rights were acquired before the book was even published. So I think that's a big deal for it. It's 2025. It's only been 5 years. And the book won a Bram Stoker award as well. And to me, Clown in a Cornfield is in the same vein, genre-wise, as R.L. Stine and Christopher Pike, kind of like you were talking about earlier, who are renowned for their contributions to the young adult horror genre. And, their books weren't literary masterpieces, but they were significant because of the way that they solidified a connection and love of horror for millennials. And basically what I'm trying to say is a long-winded way of this is Gen Z's version of that. And you could definitely tell a lot of that from like the relationship between the dad and the daughter. But I could talk more about that later. Kind of want to know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're really tugging on an interesting thread because there's a lot of things you've brought up in here that were in my mind while watching this movie. So it's funny you brought up Renee's. You brought up whatever her name is, the Snow White girl, Ziegler or whatever.
Rachel Ziegler.
Yeah, you know what? Is Renee Zellweger on the mind? Because I'm going through the Bridget Jones diaries.
That's it.
That's what's going on. But thinking about Y2K specifically, I was thinking about bodies.
Oh my God, yes.
I was thinking about this on the fact that this might be the first real experience of me in the theater being like, I think I'm old. Like, I think that, some things, and this isn't going to sway what I give this as a rating or anything, but like some things just like, this isn't made for me. This is not made for my generation at all. And I just thought it was interesting because, I think of the closest thing I thought about in the theater was bodies. Because I remember the whole hype about that was like, oh, this is a Gen Z, this is a Gen Z, Gen Alpha horror movie. And it's, this is for the TikTokers and all this kind of stuff. But I mean, Bodies is written by like a woman that I'm pretty sure is older than I am. That's just kind of the tapping into that generation. And I mean, the guy that made this movie, Eli Craig, is also like older than I am and has been around for a long time. He's the director of Tucker and Dale versus Evil and things like that. But I mean, the actual, and like I said, I've only read 20 pages, so I don't know what the book's like, but how this movie's communicating, I just thought it was really interesting. My audience seeing this, I was definitely the oldest person in the audience. Like everyone was teenagers or like young 20s. And I think it will kind of get a hard time for that because I think most people, and us included, talking about movies, whether it's professionally or amateurly or whatever, in our case, probably not that well, we're probably going to give it a harder time in general, I think, because we're looking at it at this old lens through like old slasher movies and everything that's come before it where, like, this, I was like, this is like just, to me, the language and everything in it is on this level that I'm like, okay, like this isn't me. I don't really know what's going on. I'll get into it. Like I thought like musically it was like kind of weird for me, but then I was also like, okay, like I get it to do with that. But yeah, like I said, I'm saying this like very chaotically, I guess, that I just felt old watching this because I was like, this isn't directed at me. But I will say what I am interested in is I kind of want to read the book because I won't talk about scenes or anything till the spoiler section, but like this was a lot gorier than I was expecting going in. Now, me and Colton always talk about, like, this was only 14. Now, in the States, usually what's 14 here is 18 in the States. So it's a little different. Me and Colton always get into the arguments. I'm like, well, this is only 14. And Colton's like, well, this says rated R. And it's because it's in the States. So then, of course, I was having a whole conversation with X about, like, I was like, have we really, like, loosened? I was like, there's no way this would be 14 when I was a teenager with, like, how gory this is. Like, this would have the same rating as, like, Hostel when I was in, like, junior high school. And I just think, these interesting things of just changing times in it. And then, I mean, I, like you, I enjoyed some of the cast. Like, I thought Katie Douglas was very strong in this. God, I'll say right now, Katie Douglas was my favorite thing in this whole movie. Like, throw away the horror, throw away the movie, throw away the other actors. I like very strong in this. And I mean, I was looking at her IMDb. I mean, she's not in anything of like super of note that's like super popular that I could see. I saw that she was in like some TV movies and like TV shows, but nothing huge. And it kind of actually really reminded me of when me and Colton saw the Boogeyman, and that was my first time seeing Sophie Thatcher. And I thought, like, we both were floored by her performance, and we were like, this lady's going somewhere.
Oh yeah, she's so good.
And I really had kind of the same feeling. I was like, she steals the scene and everything she's in. She really has like a commanding presence. I thought she was the most interesting character. And I mean, that's got nothing to do with like being that, you know, that's the character writing, but I just thought she really, you know, gravitated, like your eye to everything that's going on. And I thought overall, like the cast was all right. Gotta give a huge shout out. Aaron Abrams was in this. So once I saw he played the dad, you know, I was pumped.
Yeah.
Obviously plays the dad in like one of my all-time favorite movies, Closet Monster. So I was super...
Is that him?
Yeah, that's him. He plays the dad in Closet Monster. So I was like, all right, like just locking down the dad roles. And yeah, and I mean, like I said, obviously the first half of this movie, the music I was into, obviously I was going to be into like the Eric B. and Rakim at the beginning, opening the movie up, 80s rap. And we, you know, then we find out this movie isn't for Rowan when, you know, like they basically announce it on screen that, you know. You're old. This isn't what people listen to. Let's like flip the switch. And, you know, I like I said, I think it's interesting. I'm old. I'm just saying that I'm old.
No, a couple of things I just wanted to kind of touch on that you just said. First of all, kind of, you know, are we loosening the grip on ratings? And I think you're right. And I think that's because we kind of need it. Otherwise, kids aren't going to be as interested unless there's some sort of like shock value. So I think that's part of it. And the other thing I wanted to talk about was Aaron Abrams and the dad character. Like right out of the front gate, I could tell that Adam Cesare, or however you say his name, is a millennial. And he was born in 1988. I looked it up. And, you know, he's this father character who happens to be a single father raising a daughter in the best way he can and trying his best to protect his daughter from the same generational traumas that our generation faced. And I think it's refreshing to see a funny millennial dad character. It's vastly different from the parental dynamic of our millennial generation and the kind of dynamic that we see in the slashers and movies that we're used to. Like the parents are always absent, right?
Yeah.
Or it's like abusive. It's never good. And to me, this is like a passing of a metaphorical torch to the next generation of slashers. And I also felt old too, because I was like, okay, I already identify and relate to the dad character, even though I'm not like a parent, but you know, I'm like his age basically. And I understand the kind of rift there is between him and, you know, the age gap of his daughter and whatnot.
I felt so relatable to this character. It was sad. Yeah, all I could think about is like I've literally been this guy. Like I drive my daughter back and forth to everything, and like I'm like, how many times have I been like, oh man, I'm gonna play like some like 90s hip hop. She's gonna love it. I'm gonna like teach her about good music, and then you know she's literally like, you need to shut the shit off. Like,
yeah, you're embarrassing.
Nobody wants to listen to this, and I'm just like, ouch. Like I thought I was the cool guy. I thought I was the cool dad.
You are, because isn't there a scene like later on where they are kind of dancing? I don't know if it's the same music, because I'm not familiar with like rap or anything or hip hop, but it seems like she's got some moves and she knows what she's listening to, and I gave that like props to the dad, I guess.
Yeah, I think at that point
cool.
they were dancing something a little newer.
Oh, damn it. See, this is how old I am. I can't even.
Yeah, you don't know what's going on.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all right. I will say I thought, you know, it was interesting, some of the tactics with the story, because I do agree, like, in this age of, like, elevated horror, everything has to, you know, have these deep metaphorical meanings, that I thought it was kind of interesting that, like, there is little threads in this, but the movie never pulls at them. And I thought that was like an interesting swerve because, yeah, to our modern sensibilities, you know, we have this daughter and this father that, you know, she says in the movie, like, her mother died of an overdose. Mm-hmm. Like, there's obviously, like, some family trauma there. Obviously, there's, like, drug abuse, stuff like that. And so I was like, oh, like, you know, we're going to get this, like, story. But we, like, literally never pull at that. It's just kind of there. It doesn't really inform the character. Like, Quinn, we never see Quinn, like, dealing with that trauma of losing a mother or anything. She's, like, very open and kind of this experience of this new town. And it just kind of, I thought it was, like, refreshing and interesting because I think being someone older, I guess, more mature, I kind of felt like I wanted that. Like, I kind of was like, oh, I'm kind of interested, like, find more out about this character and this dad and their dynamic. Where, like you said, at the end of the day, it's like, this is, you know, this is a slasher for 14-year-olds. They don't give a shit. They don't want, like, you know, to me, this is like exactly, you know, when I watch Friday the 13th, I don't come in with that expectation of like, hey, can I get like some trauma and informed messaging here? So I felt it was interesting that I was like imprinting like current sensibilities as, you know, a 38-year-old watching a lot of elevated horror into this, where like when I go to an old slasher, I don't bring that there because I know it's not there. It's like, hey, this was for horny teenagers in the 80s that were in the theater with their girlfriends. Yeah. And it's like, that's what this is. Like, so I need to just leave it and let it be what it is.
I mean, that goes back to, I think, to the point I just made about we have different expectations. Like, to be a dumb slasher, you have to be kind of smarter than the average slasher in the 80s and 90s, I feel like.
Yeah.
You know, just to have that edge. Oh, the mom thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure if there's more of that in the book. I feel like, you know, obviously it's a movie, so usually they do kind of put it on a fast track a little bit. But I know that in the book it is a bit slower. Like, the ending is a little bit different. I could talk about it later. But yeah, so I wonder if there's more mom stuff in the book, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I'll be interested to find that out. And then, you know, I was going to say generally, just as, you know, I'm interested, like, do you find clowns generally scary? Like, I know some people are terrified. They don't. It's kind of weird. You think a guy that has like a giant Pennywise tattoo on his arm and loves killer clowns and stuff, they like
literally wearing the killer clowns outer space hat right now.
Exactly. I mean, I just like I never found clowns scary. They don't really. I shouldn't say that. Pennywise scares the shit out of me, but I generally don't have a phobia of clowns. So I thought this kind of worked for me, and obviously we can talk about in the spoiler section, like, the conceit of what this entity, a friendo or whatever is, and I just thought, like, to me, it was an interesting aspect for me coming in thinking this was just going to be, like, some half-dead or, like, just serial killer clown. That kind of twist that it took surprised me.
That twist also surprised me. I guess we can talk about it in spoiler free, but that is also what I expected, not knowing really what this movie was about, apart from you're getting a clown in a cornfield. I am afraid of clowns, but I feel like recently I've become kind of accustomed to them with, you know, the prevalence of it and Terrifier and all that kind of stuff. I feel like they're not as scary as they used to be for some reason. And I did think the clown costume and makeup, whatever, was you know, it was pretty good for this. Like, it was scary enough. Like, if I saw that out in the real world, I would run away, probably. I would be scared. But seeing it on a screen is not as scary at all these days, I feel like.
I was going to say, I'm also kind of a sucker, just the setting in general. It's like...
Oh, the setting.
It's, you know, it's kind of like middle America farmland. Obviously, you know, in Nova Scotia, like, I'm surrounded by farms where I live. And so I appreciate that setting. And I think as a backdrop, most people would recognize, like, there's definitely, you know, for the writer of the book, there's definitely got to be like a heavy appreciation for Stephen King and, you know, that kind of Derry, Maine feel, just kind of, you know, like town stuck in its ways, small town, that kind of vibe, that kind of feel.
I agree. I absolutely love the setting. Like you said, just very like kind of classic slasher setting, Stephen King, and even Halloween. And I love that classic feel to it. I love the small town charm, like the Founders Day Parade. I like the lore of the corn syrup factory and how important like it is to the town and everything. And it also kind of reminded me of Halloween 3 when, you know, like the town is just not right? And like everyone's kind of... Is that a spoiler? Fuck me, I don't know. But
well, I mean, probably. That's probably... We'll put like a big bleep sound over it.
Okay, excellent. But yeah, I love the setting. They did a great job. I love the set where they have a party in the barn or whatever it is. I think that's cool. I even like the house that the dad and Quinn live in.
Yeah.
I think that's cool. There's so much you can do. And I feel like the setting of being in the middle of nowhere, basically like that, is really important to build that like isolation and tension and fear for something like this. Like, you're going to run for miles in a cornfield to get to a phone or get help. And so much can happen. And they did a really good job building that set. And it's one of my favorite things about the movie.
I 100% agree with that. I think that's one of the charming things about it. And I was also surprised because when I went in, I kind of forgot, like, I had looked at the time, and this is only like 100. It's only an hour and 30 minutes.
36,
like, 30, like pretty short. So, like, I was also surprised at kind of the speed this went at times. Like, the beginning, we kind of really, you know, you kind of get into, like, getting the gang together, whatever you're going to set up as your cast, and, like, all that stuff. I think it was just a different approach to any kind of teen horror I've ever seen. Because normally, no matter what kind of movie it is, a slasher, a exorcism movie, like anything, if it's got to do with teens, it's always the same, I feel. It's like, you know, the kid, they've got to go to school the first day, and like they're bullied, or like they're awkward. And I just thought it was an interesting approach that this is like, nope, here's the group of kids, you know, we're good. Let's just get this like coaster going.
That's a good point. I agree. In a lot of ways, Clown in a Cornfield is very formulaic of like a slasher, teen slasher, but it also manages to subvert your expectations. And there's a couple more that I want to talk about in the spoilers section.
Why don't we say if we recommend it, seeing this or not in the theater or whatever, and that way we can kind of dip on over to the spoiler section. So I'll start. So I'm kind of weird on this. I don't know if I'd recommend this to see in the theater. It was cool in the theater, but I don't know. I feel like you can kind of wait for this to come to Shudder or streaming. Like, this wasn't one that I'm like, you got to see it on the big screen. And I've tried to be pretty positive on it, but like there is going to be some issues with it that I did have, and with the story and all that kind of stuff that, you know, like I said, I think really at the end of the day, this might have just not been for me. And as much as I said, like, there's some gore in this, which there definitely is, I don't know if it was, like, extreme enough for me or it hit right with me. So, I hate to... Oh, this is really has me emotionally confused right now.
Make
you know what?
decision.
I'll do this. I'll give it, like, a light recommend.
Okay.
I think if you're like me and you're pumped that Shudder keeps getting their movies into the theater, even for a short week or two, like go see this. It's kind of cool to see. You know what? Yeah, light recommend, because it's kind of cool to see like this kind of throwback to just the meaningless slasher that being put on screen. And it's kind of been a while since we've had something like that. I feel like you said, everything has to be elevated or meta, or, you know, I'm thinking of like the newer Scream movies, like everything has to be in conversation with something older, where this can just kind of exist as fun. So a light recommend. What about yourself?
Yeah. I want to touch on what you said earlier about, you know, the Shudder thing and how you like to support it. I think it's something we should support. And also the movie theater that I went to, it felt like it was on its last legs. It was a smaller one. So I feel like it's important to go out and support theaters too, if you can right now. So this is one I would recommend. It's a good popcorn flick, good spring, summer slasher to get the season rolling. I didn't think there was anything inherently wrong with the movie. I had a good time. I thought the kills and the gore were great. I thought it was perfectly acceptable as a slasher. So if you're looking for a horror movie to go see right now, I think this is a good one to go see and support. So yeah, definitely recommend.
So I definitely recommend, a light recommend. So, you know, that's a pretty good recommendation from the squad here. So with that, let's cut on over to the spoiler section. We are now in the spoiler section, so if you haven't seen Clown in a Cornfield, pause it or shut it off, go see it, and come back, unless you want it spoiled and you don't really care. So Jill, the embargo's up. I don't have to beep you out anymore or anything.
Sweet.
I probably should have said it in the spoiler-free section, but the movie gave me one real good laugh at the beginning. When we get introduced to Quinn, because all I thought, and I was like, I gotta remember to write that down as a note, is I thought in my mind, I was like, Quentin Tarantino would be really proud for this random foot shot at the beginning of it that serves no purpose. I'm still not really 100% sure why we needed like Katie Douglas's bare foot pressed against the window, the camera focusing on it, and that's it. I'm assuming that was just to get the foot fetish people in the building or something. I just thought it was like a weird shot at the beginning, because I was like, well, A, when she gets out of the car, she's wearing like Doc Marten boots, which she wears the entire movie, which is like the style of this character. So I'm like, first of all, it just doesn't really like make sense, like realistic wise. Like, so she took off her boots, she took off her socks. She's you're driving. If you get in an accident, you're dead. You're just dead. If your feet are against the glass and you get on like a collision,
do that all the time, by the way.
Dead.
Yeah, I hope it kills me. But I know it really like crumples. You could get really messed up if your legs crumple like that. See, I, as a normal person, didn't really notice the foot shot. So I don't know. I think you're on the list. It was really
prominent, and when I think it's just because I'm so programmed with Quentin Tarantino that anytime I see it in a movie, I'm like, Quentin Tarantino would be proud of this shot. And like I said, it didn't inform me of anything, or
right.
Like, I think about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, like the iconic, what's her name from The Substance that's in it?
Margaret Qualley?
Margaret Qualley?
Yeah.
Her. And, like, you know, her iconic scene is, like, her bare, dirty feet, like, pushed on the windshield. But, like, it's representative of her character. She's like this Manson family follower, and she's like a dirty hippie in the eyes of this guy. It portrays something. I was like, this is just kind of weird. Like, it's just a weird shot to introduce this character.
Okay, a couple of things. I think maybe their intention, and maybe this was an oversight in like editing, where she wasn't supposed to wear it, and they forgot to like, I don't know, edit out the shoes or whatever. I guess the purpose is that it's supposed to make her look like a relaxed and chill and relatable character, which is kind of like the aura that character has. I know that's really dumb. Secondly, I just got a pair of Doc Martens, like, and wore them for the first time last weekend, and those are bitches to put on in the car. So no way, ma'am. I don't believe it.
Anyway, that was my only comment about that one.
Okay.
But I mean, like I said, I brought up, like, I thought the speed was interesting because basically Quinn gets to this town. We pretty much immediately meet the gang of like Janet and Cole and Ronnie and like all Tucker, all these guys, all these folks. Like, it's very quickly a thing, and it's also very quickly like, oh, Quinn is part of the gang. It's just already done. Also, like, I don't care how big of a dick your teacher is, man. I feel like these kids are just kind of assholes also. So
they were.
Detention. Yeah.
They were. And I think that shows kind of the age gap between us and, people who don't have fully developed frontal lobes, and the way that she's explaining it to her dad, like, oh, the teacher's an asshole, the cop's an asshole, but you won't listen to me, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of that same thing, like, their complaining is falling on deaf ears because as an adult, like, okay, doesn't matter, you don't act that way. But I think we need to talk about the biggest spoiler of them all, which is the gay relationship between Cole and what's the other guy's name?
Rusty or Rust?
Rust, yeah. That blew me away. I did not see it coming. Did not see that come. Did you see that coming?
I didn't see that coming a mile away.
I loved it. Because it was going a very like formulaic route where, she's going after this guy and, the blonde chick, Janet, you said was her name?
Yeah.
I think. She was with that guy and they tried to warn her and stuff. It kind of reminds me of The Craft,
Yeah.
They all want the same guy. But instead of him just rejecting them, he's rejecting them for a reason. It's because he's gay and he has this kind of complicated relationship with Russ. And I thought that was really smart and really cool. And one of my favorite things about the movie as well is just I did not expect it to go there. And I love that it did.
I like it because we didn't expect it. But then I was thinking, I was like, someone that's not going to see this movie, that you like told them this, is this not like the most obvious thing that like some cranky old guy is like, oh yeah, of course they'd be gay. Like, all these woke kids now. And I just thought it was funny because, I didn't see it coming, but after it came, I was like, man, there's going to be so much like anti-woke pushback to, like all the Trump lovers will hate this one.
Yeah.
But and I thought it was a good twist. I mean, I thought this movie was pretty good with, unless you've read the book probably, like, I didn't know anything, so, like, I like the kind of red herring set up at the beginning of Rust. Like, we're like, okay, this guy's creepy, small town.
He's a killer. He's the clown.
Yeah, and he obviously has, like, some bad blood against Cole and his, what are they, YouTube gang? What do they call YouTube squads? I don't know what the kids call themselves these days. I thought it was good at holding those twists. And like you said, we had to bleep it out in the spoiler section, but like the town being in on it, which, it was giving you those vibes at the beginning anyway. It's giving you those Stranger Chapter 1 vibes. I will tell you, this is better than Stranger Chapter 1 by far, but yeah, the vibe that the whole town knows what's going on.
Halloween 3.
Like, a lot of the twists and turns of this were pretty exciting for me.
Exciting.
Yeah, I mean, just because I didn't see them. I didn't really know what was going on.
Yeah, we got to talk about the clown because we kind of touched on it. Yeah. I thought it was just going to be like, they were all praying to this like clown god maybe, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like something like that. And then the clown was, came because, I don't know, there was a sacrifice and he was just going to kill everybody. That is honestly what I expected. And that is not what we got. And I love that is not what we got.
Well, and it's almost interesting because I thought it was going to be something like that. Like, I was like, the town obviously knows Friendo is killing teenagers. And yeah, like there's something going on here. There's an agreement or something because the town is looking at all the kids weird. All the kids are troublemakers and all this kind of stuff. stuff, which also, you know, needless to say, very, very Stephen King. You know, obviously, like, it also a very perfect example of this, of the town being off and adults being in on it. But I thought the way it kind of revealed some of that, I thought some of the reveal didn't work. Like, towards the end where we see the clippings of the kids and then we find out every other generation there's these killings. I thought it would have been cooler to get the generational killings, that information earlier. Maybe not that they had these guys lined up, but that, hey, there's kids going missing every other generation, and this is like a thing that kids have to worry about, on, you know, and the parents don't seem as worried or something. Like, I felt like they didn't do enough with that. It's just kind of this, like, oh, we found this bulletin board at, you know, towards the end of the movie that says they've been doing this forever. And then it's just kind of like, cool.
I agree. And also to go back to the reveal of the Cole's dad kind of being like the mastermind behind all of this. I thought that was a little cheesy at times. Like, it could have been a better reveal. The way that he, you know, talked to his son and everything wasn't that realistic. And I know, again, this is made for young adults and teens, but same time, it could have been cooler.
Yeah, and Kevin Durant just like in everything right now. Obviously, in Abigail, and, you know, he was the villain in the new Planet of the Apes movie. And
really?
Yeah, and I saw online, what do you think about, like, I see a lot of people are commenting about how he's, like, oddly styled to look like Elon Musk in this, and how he just essentially looked like Elon Musk.
Really?
Which I thought was interesting as this character that, you know, is like the richest person in the town and, you know, just like trying to manipulate things to control his own self-wealth and kind of hiding it in his appreciation of the townspeople and the town. I thought that was pretty funny.
Trying to find a picture. All I see him is in a clown costume.
They're like, even the shots of him in the, like, him in at the parade when he's dressed up in the suit, they've just kind of got like his hair just right, and he just kind of got that vibe. And when you put a picture of him and then you look at a picture of like Elon, it's like, oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna need to see something later. That's
deep dive into that. But this is my question. So, like, while we're talking about that, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of the deaths and stuff too. So, why not get rid of the whole plot in just one swoop here? Like, but I'm interested. So we're bringing up, like, yeah, the dad, obviously he's like kind of the mastermind to all this. Did that work for you? Like, how did you feel about that ending? Especially, like, you're saying that you kind of thought throughout it that, like, Friendo might actually be like, this might be like a bean or a killer clown, or... Yeah,
I think it kind of worked. It could have worked better if they developed the dad more. The acting on his part was good for the most part. I think the script maybe could have used some work for that, and maybe just how the reveal played out. Because, like I said, it didn't seem that realistic. But I do like the other clowns who show up at, like, the clinic, and force Quinn's dad to perform surgery. Like, I like all of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I would have liked to kind of see more behind the scenes. They don't really show much of, like, I really want to see who the clowns were. Like,
yeah, because we only really find out who, like, 3 or 4 of them actually are.
Yeah, and it's like the teacher, the waitress, the cop, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And you know, I could have been done a little bit better, but that really is my only, like, issue with the whole movie. What did you think?
The ending as a whole didn't overly work for me, just because I thought, like, obviously they set this up for a sequel, because, you know, he disappears at the end with a car and he leaves. So, you know, obviously, yeah, they're like, if we make enough money, we're going to make a sequel. And I think he's, like, writing another book for this, I believe.
There's 3 out right now.
Oh, is there all? Okay, there you go. Yeah. That answers that. So, obviously, they left it open. I'm sure the book also does. But like you said, like, I really like the kind of reveal of these clowns as adults in the town and their hatred for kids, essentially teenagers.
Yeah.
And, yet another time I'm like, boy, I'm old. Like, do I agree with these townspeople who are like, these fucking kids? And like, I thought it was interesting because they just kept talking about the 90s and how like the 90s was the sweet spot, which obviously at my age, I'm like, I love the 90s.
Yeah.
And, I'm thinking all these other kids in here are like, fuck the 90s. Like, I'm sure they're like 2010. That's the best decade. Like,
well, yeah, I love the line.
They're just
that
wrong.
Quinn
That's really
makes
what I'm saying.
about like the math. She's like, let's do some math. Like the whatever year she was.
That
what year
hurt
was
me
it
so
set?
much.
Like the
She
90s.
said she said 80s hip hop.
Oh yeah.
Is the same distance to the 40s, the music from the 40s, as it is to music today. And like, when that dad that hit him, that hit me. And I was
that
like,
hit me too.
I was like right in the feels. Yeah. I'll remember that when I'm listening to like Culture Club record or something. And I'm like, oof. But I mean, like I said, just to get back to that ending, I didn't love the the business guy is the evil running the town. I think I'd almost like it better if it was the townspeople and they were just kind of like not good at this. And that's just like, there's no ultimate boss. It's just like the sheriff and it's all these guys and, they're getting, these teenagers are getting the upper hand on them because they're all kind of klutzy. Like, that's kind of the comedy twist that I think Eli Craig was good at, was that not only is there one friendo, there's multiple friendos, but it's like when we finally get the wave of multiple friendos, they're like tripping over chairs and like, it's, it's the townspeople. So we're just like, they're clumsy. They're just not that good at it. The teenagers are like kind of outwitting them.
Yeah.
And like, to me, I was like, this is like fun, that it's just like these guys might, they might have gotten away with it 2 generations ago, but it's like, they're just not good at it.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. It's a circus.
Yeah, that's right.
Literal clowns.
Did you want to talk about some of the kills and stuff? Like, I mean, we said this is pretty gory for a teen slasher movie.
Yeah. Well, first of all, kind of the fake out when they're having a fire or whatever, they're sitting around drinking. And one guy goes to pee and he comes back and he's like disemboweled. And then it turns out to be a trick and they're filming it. The filming part kind of reminded me of Talk to Me a little bit. Yeah. Just like, just filming like certain phenomena that's happening.
Which is hard to escape if you're like making a movie about teenagers. Because I mean, I have a 10-year-old and, what does she want to do? She wants to make YouTube video. Like, that's what she wants to do for a profession. Like,
exactly.
Every kid, every teenager wants to, like, put content out. You want to go viral. I thought it was interesting that, like, YouTube was the choice for this, which I get with the filmmaking aspect. Like, a lot of filmmakers like that. But I was just thinking to me, almost using TikTok probably would have worked better. Just because... There's actually quite a lot of like small, like no budget teenagers, 20-somethings that want to be like horror directors that use TikTok to make like analog horror stories and stuff. So I was like, to me, it would have made more sense that this was like on TikTok or something.
Yeah, I think you're right. Maybe it's because this came out in 2020, kind of when TikTok was like, big, like getting big. And also Adam Cesare is a millennial. So naturally YouTube is like our, maybe that's why, I don't know. But yeah, I agree. TikTok would be the move nowadays.
Yeah, I got us a little off topic there. Yeah, so the kills.
What was the name of the black guy? Tucker. I think his kill was my favorite. I like that they kind of did a Scream thing where they're like, okay, the black guy is gonna die first, and then Ronnie is like, okay, I'm next, as like the black girl. I like that stuck to tropes like that, and it was kind of like Scream, where it's a little bit clever, a little bit witty with that. But I really liked his kill, especially with I don't know what it is. I'm a sucker for like plastic and blood. The way that his body was rolled up, and then all the blood. There's a lot of blood just like gushing.
Real Dexter style.
Exactly. That was my favorite, but there are a lot of cool kills. What did you think of the kills?
Yeah, I really like Tucker's. Tucker's I felt was interesting because it was so different. Like, I thought Tucker's was like real mean-spirited. Like, it was actually like a pretty brutal kill.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh, like, this is, like, gonna get nasty. And it's not that the other, like, there was ones, I mean, someone's head gets crushed in this, like, and just explodes. But it's, like, the viscera of just how, like, mean and, like, brutal, like, the kill against Tucker was. But, I mean, there's lots of stuff, you know? There's lots of, like, Ronnie gets the chainsaw in the stomach, essentially, and... You know, that friendo is like holding her up in the air. It's, you know, it's very Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
So I missed that one. I had to go to the bathroom so freaking bad. Is that the one with like the rotary phone kind of around that time?
I think the rotary phone is after it because they're looking for the house with the rotary phone. And then Ronnie dies as they're trying to find this house in the cornfield.
Yep. I missed it. I had to pee so freaking bad. I was trying to hold it in because I knew from the trailer the part where they're all like covering each other's mouths in like a train,
which was a great part. That's just visually
I missed
good.
it. I really didn't want to miss it, but I had to pee so freaking bad that it hurt. So I came back right when Janet died, and I was like, great, Ronnie's already gone. And so I'm going to have to watch it again because that sounds really cool.
Yeah, I like I said, and I thought it was kind of interesting just because I thought the kills were kind of nods in themselves, not just for like the setting, but like I said, it had that Texas Chainsaw feel. We get like Janet dying in the house with the pitchfork, which kind of gave me like the Friday the 13th Part 2 vibes. Like, you know, I thought there was like some good probably nods to other just like slasher, you know, movies that were made for teenagers at the time.
Definitely. Yeah, that's cool.
Will Sasso gets that the cow prod or whatever right in the mouth.
Oh yeah, that was brutal. And then seeing like the blue kind of electricity. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the kills. I think the kills were good. I mean, kind of one of my real issues with this is even the head crush one where the person's head gets crushed. See, I'm saying person because I don't even remember whose head gets crushed. And that was kind of my only real issue with it is I think about kind of like, not just like iconic slashers, but just like teenage slashers, like any of the Friday the 13th or, you know, anything like that. Like there's usually like one iconic kill. And to me, I was like, you know, I really like Tucker's death, but I don't think it's like an iconic kill. It's not something I'm like, this is original. This is from Clown in a Cornfield. This can only be from Clown in a Cornfield.
Nothing totally stands out. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, it all just kind of runs together. And I just feel like in another week, I'm not going to remember who died what way. I'm just gonna know this is, you know, this is how they died.
It's funny that you said that because I didn't have any notes for the spoiler section. So actually, if you go on IMDb, there's like a parental guide for gore that'll like describe all the kills in a movie.
Yeah.
So I went through that to like remind myself what happened because I couldn't remember anything but really Tucker's death, honestly.
Yeah, I'll be honest. That's kind of really all I have, like note-wise for the spoiler section. There's not a lot. I mean, we've kind of spoiled all the main stuff in this, and it's you know, as we said, it's only an hour and like 36 minutes. Like it's not long. It's got its kills. I did think kind of in it's paced weird because there were spots like they did pretty good with there being deaths in this every, you know, kind of like 10-15 minutes, but there were still spots where I like kind of felt it was like I kind of wish they shaved it to like 120, so it just was like, you know, give me that Friday the 13th feeling. Like Friday the 13th was good at giving me like 120. I'm in and out. I'm getting my kills. Cool. Awesome. I felt like this just was a little, there's spots that were like a little dragged out that they could have moved in a little more. Did you have anything else you wanted to
Nope.
talk about? You're good to go into rating it?
Yep.
So if you're new to our program, our rating system is nay, okay, yay, or slay. So Jill, what would you give Clown in a Cornfield?
I am going to give Clown in a Cornfield a yay, because I think it's a perfectly competent slasher. Like I said, if you're looking for a horror movie to go see in the theater right now, or if you want to wait for it to come to streaming, I think it's a fun time. It's funny enough. If you're a millennial, you can connect and bond with the dad. And if you're Gen Z, you can connect with the rest of it, basically. The kills were fun. The music was good. I love the setting. Yeah, it was just a good time. So I'm going to give it a yay. What about you?
Yeah, so I think I'm going to land in an okay for me. Like I said, I think during it, the kills were fun. But as I said, like even leaving the theater, like the kills were getting more and more forgettable and just kind of, whatever. Just stuff I've seen in lots of other movies. I've seen people get pitchforked and chainsawed in more movies than I can count on my, both hands. I thought the writing was okay. It's definitely aimed at teenagers. Like I said, there was some character development stuff. I kind of wish they went more in to Quinn and Glenn, her dad. Like, I wish there was more into that relationship because I was really interested in that relationship. Obviously, me kind of being in that age frame and a father, I was like, oh, I'm kind of interested in seeing this, and maybe, that dreaded trauma word in horror of seeing, like, more about how they're dealing with the death of their mother, maybe more of what the mother like meant to each of them, because we don't even really get that. We just get that she's dead, but we don't really know how it's affecting either one, other than like a short argument on a stairwell that doesn't, it's just like, oh, you didn't ask me about moving, and that's pretty much all that happens. But like I said, I mean, I'd say it's a stronger okay. Like, I didn't hate this movie by any means. I thought it was fun. I think kids younger than me are gonna love this. I can see this kind of like being kind of a, I guess it's not really a video classic for kids, a streaming classic for people when it streams. I'm interested to see if this will come on more than Shudder, because I feel like if this was on Netflix or something, like it would do gangbusters on Netflix. Like this would shoot up. But you know what? If you want to watch it and you got teenagers, sign up for Shudder. So you got to support them. So yeah, I'm gonna give it an okay. So yay and an okay for Clown in the Cornfield. So if you're not doing so, you can follow us on any social media at It Slays Podcast. We're on Bluesky, Facebook, Tumblr, Instagram, Letterboxd, Slasher, TikTok, Threads. I feel like I'm forgetting, so there's so many. Basically, if there is a social media, we'll be on it at It Slays Podcast. And Jill, why don't you tell the lovely people how they can join us in the kingdom of horror hounds?
Oh, the kingdom, of course.
The cornfield.
The corn in a clown field.
The clown field.
There were clowns and there were corn. We didn't even talk about the parade and the corn made out of balloons. Amazing set piece.
I thought you were just saving that for people that went and saw the film.
Yeah, there it is. Just dropped it. There you go. You're welcome. But if you would like to join the ranks of our horror hounds like Holly, Nicholas, Socratype, Dan, Brian, Trevor, and James, head on over to patreon.com/itslayspodcast and choose the tier that works for you. Perks include early access to episodes of our main show and access to our Patreon exclusive show, Stream Screams, as well as the ability to pick a movie for us to review. Now, you had some mixed feelings about the soundtrack, but is there going to be any 80s rap making it to the playlist?
I don't know if 80s rap will really be the feel of a horror music playlist, but I don't really the score wasn't memorable to me, but I will go back, see if there's a score and take a listen. And of course, if it's worth it, I'll add it on there. Even if it's not though, you should go over to the It Slays Podcast Horrific playlist. You can find it on Spotify. If you have any problems finding it, though, you can go to any of the social media that I mentioned, go in the bio, click the Linktree link. There's a link that'll take you directly there. We upload scores or licensed music to iconic horror movies we review, or just horror movies we love. So yeah, go follow. We update it regularly. Get your spooky music on, because why the hell not? And next up on Now Slain, I'm going to assume Colton's going to be back, so I won't have to host it. I mean, it's definitely going to be Final Destination, Bloodlines. I think me and Colton were messaging saying that we're kind of getting excited for it. Like, we kind of weren't when we heard the existence of this project. And now that, like, the trailers and stuff have been coming out and the hype up, I'm like, like, Final Destination is a franchise. Like I talked about, this not having an iconic kill. Like, most of them have at least an iconic kill.
Oh, yeah. Everyone knows the log truck, right?
Exactly. Well, and I saw they were doing marketing with the log trucks, where log trucks in the States had drapes over them that looked like logs falling, and it said, like, Final Destination Bloodline coming soon. Yeah, so that'll be coming, and there's going to be a lot of stuff. There's quite a few horror movies coming out for the rest of May, so I'm sure we're going to try to hit everything we can. So tune in for that. Like I said, Colton will be back. And as always, thank you for all the support. I'm your humble host, Rowan.
Bye, it's Jill.
And if you keep listening, we'll keep slaying.